Her Bold Blueprint.
Her Bold Blueprint.
Welcome to today's episode of
Her Bold Blueprint.
Today, we're very excited to have with us Garima Shah. She's the president of Biller Genie, which is a large fintech company that's headquartered right here in Orlando. So she's got an extensive background, entrepreneurial, business, and a true leader in the fintech space and beyond. She will also be our speaker at this year's Orlando Women's Conference. Welcome, everyone, and welcome our very special guest today, Garima Shah. Thank you for joining us. And before we get into everything, I just have to share a little bit because part of the fun of doing these podcasts is we get to invite women that we know, but also we don't know their whole story. So I believe when we first met, it was through volunteering for Shepherd's Hope. And I thought you were an amazing volunteer, an amazing mom, but had no idea what you really did all the time. So that's quite. But why don't you give us a little bit of background about, where you started and especially some of the fun stories. You have a lot of fun stories about how you started. So.
I think we all do, but thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So background, where I started, I'm a Central Florida girl. I grew up in Melbourne, Florida. I was born in England, but I grew up in Melbourne, Florida, and have kind of lived everywhere, but mostly lived there and went to school up in Boston. I really wanted to go into advertising. I thought that'd be the coolest thing ever, and ended up in sales and ended up opening my own firm when I was about 20 years old, sold it a couple years later, and I've been fintechs ever since. And I'm really excited because we opened our office here for Biller Genie 6 years ago, and I've never been able to call Orlando where I work. It's just been where I live. So it's really nice to live and work in the same city.
Yeah. And from your background story, and we did have a little interview with you in our March-April issue, so I do have some answers, but I'm going to let you share with our guests. I think one of the most fascinating things is when you finished college and you went to work, start your career, and you pivoted because you didn't have enough money to pay for the apartment you wanted.
Yeah.
So tell us about that, because that was quite daunting what you ended up going into.
Absolutely. I mean, I like nice things, right? And I wanted to live in a really fancy apartment in Miami. And unfortunately, an entry-level job at an ad agency just wasn't going to pay my rent. Yeah. And so I took a job in commission-only sales, and I think I'm sure that there was a lot of arrogance there looking back. I don't know how or why I thought that would work out, but it did. But I really believed, I was like, I'm just betting on me. I'm going to do it. And it's up to me to make the sales. And I think that lesson throughout my career has been really important, of just bet on yourself and make it happen, or live and die by yourself.
Get it done.
I think that's something that maybe this younger generation is lacking a little bit. You had the gusto to really go out there and say, okay, I'm going to make this my own. I did something similar, when I came to work for her. I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. But here we are. We figure it out as we go.
You guys are killing it. You have so many cool things. Like, look at this podcast. How cool is that?
I know you have young daughters. Like, I mean, what is your advice to them? And what would you share with young women kind of coming up in their careers?
It
took a lot of guts.
Yeah,
it's
interesting.
You do, and not everybody has that confidence,
Someone was in my office yesterday, a young woman, and she's from UCF, and she's graduating in August, and was asking me similar questions, like, I think there's two things. The first is, your life is not going to be linear. And as much as we are thinking that it will, especially, I think all through school, we're conditioned to have a linear life. Mm-hmm. You say, okay, you're born, you learn to walk, you learn to crawl, you learn to walk, you learn to run. Then you learn to speak. And then and we have kids, how this is. And there's like a path that you expect you go to school, you graduate 5th grade, you graduate 8th grade, you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a job. And all of a sudden you get a job and you get punched in the face. And you're like, wow, like this isn't linear anymore. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that we prepare people for that at all. So I tell my children that all the time, like, get ready to be punched in the face, because it will happen multiple times. And you need to understand that your life will absolutely not be linear. And I would say the second thing is, jump before you're ready, because you're never going to be ready. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure that you felt the same way. I'm sure that when you were starting all of this, you felt the same way. Like, you always want it to be perfect, especially as a founder. You want things to be so amazing, but
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you've just got to jump, or you can spend forever. Like perfect is the enemy of
Talking about
good.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
thinking about it. And I know from your background, you were raised in a household that had pretty high expectations for you. So I'm sure that kind of pushed you a little bit maybe to be successful. So what was that like?
Yeah,
Was it too much
absolutely.
pressure, or did you feel like it was good for you to be able to
No, I
experience
think
that?
the pressure, especially in Asian American households, is very, very high,
Yeah.
especially around like grades and everything else.
Yeah.
And as an Indian American, you're always like, "Are you gonna be a doctor? Like,
Yeah.
or are you gonna you're gonna in the hotel business? Like, these are kind of your
Right.
options." And going into advertising or business, we're like, "I'm sorry, what?" Or
Yeah.
sales. My parents were like, "I don't understand what you're doing right now."
Yeah.
So yes, there was a lot of pressure. But I think that just made me more want to just follow my own path and
Mhm.
find where I could be successful, because
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to be a doctor. I went to go watch my dad do surgery once and I fainted. And I was like, this
No,
is
that's
not for
good.
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
everybody,
wanted to be an interior designer, and then I realized how much math was involved, and I was like, that is not my path.
You got interior appeal now,
I'm
though.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
well,
I'm
we
a
get to dabble.
wordsmith. And so yeah, that's kind of how that all happened.
That's all. But I think you're right about the linear. I just think it's absurd to think that an 18-year-old is going to decide what they're going to do for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously doctors have to make that commitment early because of all the schooling, but to think that this is what I'm picking today, and oh my gosh, you change so much in your 20s.
Absolutely. And now with the changes in technology
Yeah.
and some of the careers that exist, even the careers that exist at my own firm, did not exist 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like if you told me that we need an SDR 20 years ago, I'm like, what's an SDR? What do those
Yeah.
initials mean? And
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, everybody knows it's sales development rep. And it's these things change,
Mhm.
these professions, these careers. We literally don't know that they're there. And I also think that the idea of linear makes people so boxed into what
Mhm.
they believe their zone of genius
Yeah.
is, as opposed to really finding, what you just said. You want to be an interior designer, but you're a wordsmith. And being able to find that creativity, being able to find that passion
Yeah.
Yeah.
is, I think, what makes
Yeah.
it so
Well,
important.
what was
Oh,
the
yeah.
unexpected path for me is when we decided to start the Orlando Women's Conference, and we got into events, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And we put together that first conference,
I
and we
knew.
made it work. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is my new passion. And so now
She loves the
I
events.
still do the magazine and things like that, but my passion has shifted to, the events side. And that was actually like a surprising thing that
Yeah.
I learned about myself. So
Well, I think you have to always keep learning. I mean, I like to say, this is my new saying, you never have to reinvent yourself if you're constantly evolving.
I love that.
So, I mean, I think if you're open to new things, you're not making always huge leaps, but when you do make the leap, you're not that you're totally ready, but you at least know what it is you want to go into.
Yeah. And having the power to say no.
Yeah.
To be like, I just don't like that. Like, I
Yeah.
get that I just don't like doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think that's important too.
It's good. And now I know I'll let Kate speak to this more, because obviously my generation was very different. And I can't imagine how hard it is raising children, working. You do a lot of travel with all the other nonsense that goes on. I mean, my kids didn't have cell phones until they were probably 15. There was
Mhm.
no social media. How is that, like raising your girls? I know you want them to be strong as well.
It is such a hard balance. And I think that you're trying to do it every single day. Like my daughters are 10 and 13. And so my 13-year-old has a phone and just asked for social media. And it's like part of me wants them to experience all of it and play with AI and learn all of the skills so that they're prepared, because I
Mhm.
can't shield them
Mhm.
for
Right.
forever.
yeah.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you also don't want them to be doom scrolling and
Mhm.
getting the wrong information in their heads. And it's challenging. Like, I don't think I've quite figured out that balance
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty challenging.
That's something that scares me. It's like I can't look over their shoulder when they're on a device the whole time and really be seeing what they're. But I think too, with technology, there's a lot of ways we can monitor it, or put placeholders, certain parameters in place.
And
But
limit that time.
yeah,
Limit
Have
the
real-
time and
have
also,
real
I think,
experiences.
Yeah, and also
Yeah.
I think talking to them openly
Yeah.
about things. Like I'll, like I said, I have a 13-year-old, and I'll get on Instagram with her and be like, "Do you see that? That's not real. Let's talk about why
Yeah.
that's not real."
Yeah.
Or, "Hey, look at what this person posted. Do you think that they're going to get a job
Yeah.
if they posted something like this? What do you think someone's going to think in 10 or 15 years?" So I
Yeah.
think it's also having those very real conversations with them
Yeah.
around how you are perceiving AI, or I'm sorry,
Mhm.
social media, how they are perceived in
Mhm.
social media. I always say, I'm like, man, if social media existed when I was in high school, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Like, in
Yeah,
a lot
we
of
all
trouble
would.
for sure. Because, everything would be like
out
there.
there.
It'd be out there, And so
Yeah.
I do feel bad for this generation that their mistakes are so public.
Yeah. And I think that also goes back to, there's two things that we talk about a lot: authenticity and also being aware of your brand. Like, you've done a great job at that. Like, you're known for certain things, and kind of what you see is what you get. And that's sometimes hard to do, to be authentic, but yet still uphold your brand. So how do you kind of balance that? Because I know
Age.
I was going to say, some days you probably just want to be real and just say something that you shouldn't.
I think it's age. I think that, when you're early 20s, like I remember people telling me you can only wear closed-toed shoes in a boardroom and you can't wear red lipstick and you need to wear a black suit. And I remember my first meeting on Wall Street and being like, oh my God, am I even allowed to speak? What am I supposed to say? And then I think as you get older, you're like, I belong here.
Yeah.
I deserve a seat at this table. I'm going to speak and I'm going to be authentically me. And that means there's going to be pink, there's going to be glitter, I'm going to be loud, I'm going to have an opinion, because that's who I am. And that's why you wanted me in this room. Like, I earned my seat for those reasons. So let me not cut myself short and not be authentically me. But I think so much of that comes with age.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, you get a little better at it.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I've come a long ways since my 20s too. I mean, I didn't want to be on camera or on in a microphone for the longest time.
She didn't even want to speak at our events.
No,
She'd
I was
go, "You go,
behind the
Mom, you go,
scenes
Mom."
person. But now I'm coming out of my shell a little bit. So
I love it.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
For the women who do it all and then do a little more. We're here for you. At Advent Health for Women, we created the region's only women's health navigation team to make healthcare simpler. Our registered nurses will match you with the right doctors, schedule your appointments, and more for you and your whole family. So you can keep making hard look easy.
Well, going back to your business career a little bit, pretty much a serial entrepreneur, I would have to say. And that's in a good way. So you started your own company at 21?
At 20, when I sold
21?
when I was 22, yep.
Holy moly.
Yeah. I didn't.
So obviously, if you have that skill set, well, the sales didn't hurt, certainly. But if you have that skill set, it would be hard to not continue. I think it would be hard to not continue doing that. And it looks like you've kind of created that path for yourself.
I have, and I would say that I think a lot of that comes from I'm not a great rule follower, right?
Me either. I hate rules.
Yeah, and I think knowing that I'm not a good rule follower and I'm not good at following other people's rules, I wanted to make my own and build my own tables. And I think that's where that comes from, more than I really want to open a company. It's I want to live by my own rules and do what I want to do.
Yeah. What are some of the hardest things? I mean, obviously, starting up a business, I mean, there's a myriad of things. I mean, you had experience, but obviously money's the big factor, I think, for a lot of people, and building teams and making sure that what you're putting out there is what the market's ready for, or maybe they're not ready for it yet, but you're going to make them ready for it. So how does that process work? Because you've done it several times.
Yeah, I think it's all hard in the moment. And then you look back and you're like, oh, that actually wasn't so bad. But I would say the one thing that is consistently just something that's stressful no matter what is fundraising. However you're doing it, whether it's bootstrapped and you're putting your own money in and you're thinking about every dollar and how you're spending it, or you're going to investors, whether that's angels or family offices or VCs or growth equity or private equity, but learning all the terms and how they work and how cap table, and like how cap table structure should be and how you maintain governance, and that's hard. And I would say that for any business owners out there that are thinking about doing those types of things, there's this romanticism around, oh, you got such you raised so much capital and people get so excited. And you're like, why is that exciting? The more money that you raise, the more you owe people. The more the expectations are higher, the more you owe people back, and the less control you have. If it's someone else's money, that's not, you don't control that anymore. So I would say that, profit is still always sexy, no matter what people say. It's like a little black dress. It's never going to go out of style.
That's right.
So just build a company to be profitable and everything else will fall into place.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that, especially in the startup space. People are like, oh my gosh, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go do this huge concert and rent a private jet. And you're just like, that's all great. Yeah. But you're burning a lot of money and you probably don't need to.
Right. And I think I see so many people. I mean, we always encourage women to go out on their own. I can't imagine if I didn't do it. And I waited very late. I was already 50 something. We're not going to talk about that. But anyway, I think they're just so afraid, on the one hand, a lot of women. On the other hand, they have these great ideas, but they have not done the market research to justify. They think, oh, I'm going to open a boutique without thinking about, is there a space for this? Is this something that can be profitable?
I mentor a lot of women who are looking to start a business, and I ask them for two things. Like, it's two pieces of homework before they're even allowed to have a meeting. And the first is like, have you done a SWOT analysis on yourself and your business? Like, do you even know who is around you? And number two, do you understand the market that you're going into? And can you give me a budget? Like, can you give me, what is your profit margin? How many customers do you think you need to have? And I get that this might all be fictional and you're making it up. Yeah. But if you're going to go sell coffee and it costs you $8 to make a cup of coffee and you're going to charge $3, that just, it doesn't work. No. The math doesn't math. Yeah. And I think people forget that because they get so infatuated with their idea and they think it's so great. Yeah. And I don't think it helps, like I said, with this romanticism around valuations and, a cool idea is great. And I love Shark Tank, but I think that Shark Tank also it gives this idea of like, oh, you can just have a great idea and all of a sudden things happen. People invest, and it's like that's not. I think
the other thing that happens is people get out of their lane. They say, oh, this is profitable. Let me pivot into this, and like we've built the brand with the magazine and everything, and we know who our audience is, and we kind of stay true to that. But I think business owners sometimes get in trouble when they try to dabble in too many things.
Lanes.
They try to do everything for everyone.
Right.
And you just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
You're not a taco or tequila. You can't make everyone happy.
Yeah. Like I like that one.
I like that.
Well, and it's kind of like you do have to do some long range thinking. I remember when I was very early in my publishing career, and there was a very, very well-known gentleman out of New York. Obviously, all the big publishing companies were up there. And somebody asked him, if somebody came to you to pitch you with a new magazine idea, how would you respond to them? And he said, first and foremost, if you can't give me 2 to 3 years of table of contents information, then I'm not even going to talk to you. And it just really stuck with me. Like, you've got to have the plan. You can't just have the plan for the
first one.
We can't just have the plan for the first one. We have to know like where we're going to go after this.
So interesting, actually.
Yeah, you got to think long range. And I think a lot of people are, they're so excited about opening the business or doing, grand opening party. And, they forget about
absolutely.
The other thing I want to ask you about is we're running the business that we are, and we've gotten into a lot of different things. We're constantly learning. We're learning new techniques, learning new things, and I'm sure it's the same kind of in the fintech world. What are you doing to keep up with?
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Everything,
and fintech is so fast. I mean, look, there are podcasts I love. I always talk about the All In podcast. If you don't listen to it, it is an amazing fintech podcast. But I mean, whether it's learning through someone else's experience or just trying things on your own, like with everything that Anthropic has done right now around Claude, it's just playing with it, and it's making the mistakes and trying to think, how would my developers use it? How would I use it? What does this actually mean? How can I? And so I think a lot of learning just comes from experiential trying things, and you got to just get your hands dirty and do it.
It's scary sometimes. I mean, I come from rotary phones, so just think about me trying all this stuff. But I think the other thing is, go ahead and try it. I think a lot of people, especially as they age, they try to offload maybe some of the newer tech to younger employees or whatever. Maybe you're kind of like I am. I like to know how to do everything. Even if I don't have to do it, I want to know how to do it.
Absolutely. I also think it's very hard to coach someone or even be able to know if what they're telling you is right, wrong, like anything, if you haven't done it yourself. Yeah. And I have the benefit of having an amazing partner who is so technical that he is able to catch so much that I would never even understand. But if I don't understand it myself and haven't at least played with it and I can't speak the language, then what am I doing in that room?
Right.
And where am I adding value to someone else's career?
Yeah. It's interesting how things have certainly changed a lot over the years. But tell us a little bit about, I think our audience. Sorry, I automatically say readers.
What that?
Our audience would like to know, tell us a little bit about Biller Genie, what it is and why you felt the need to put it out in the market.
Absolutely. So we're accounts receivable automation software, which is not exactly the most exciting thing
to
talk
talk about. It's what you need, though. You have
That's
to get your money.
Yeah.
But, we found this need by accident because we were a payment provider and we couldn't connect payments to accounting software. And that sounds like a simple problem. And we went to solve that for ourselves and realized that it was a problem with every bank and every payment processor and everybody else in the world who was trying to do this. And the craziest statistic for me was that 90% of businesses worldwide do not automate their accounts receivable. I mean, we have Uber on our phone, we have Apple Pay, we have everything else to make our lives easier. But for a business to get paid, they have a biller or an account receivable manager. That just seems crazy. And so that's really what our business is about. We get people paid an average of 40 to 50 days faster on their accounts receivable by just ensuring the basics are done. We ensure that their invoices are sent out on time, there's data integrity. And most importantly, like Amazon, you make it easy for people to pay, right?
Yeah, that's what over the years has just perplexed me. I mean, I still work with companies that have only very recently accepted credit cards. And my philosophy has always been, I worked at a company 20 years ago, and the business manager, absolutely, you cannot take credit card. If we get our money 30 days faster, doesn't that mean something? And so I kept fighting for it, and we finally got it. But, you need to make everything easy for people.
Yeah.
They don't read anymore. We find that all the time, right?
Yeah.
People don't read. You got to give it,
make it as easy simple, stupid, and you got to make it a click of a button. So whether that's
and she says all this, and the funny thing is, when I started working for her in 2010, she was doing all of her accounting in an Excel spreadsheet.
Hey, I did a pretty good job. I got my taxes done for 10 years.
We need to get on QuickBooks or, a similar program. And so I set it up, knew nothing about, I got a C in accounting. So I was not great at accounting, but I taught myself, QuickBooks to get the basics. And now we've come a long way since then.
Yeah.
But
we still know every one of our clients. So, I mean, I don't think we'll ever go past that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it'd be nice to be bigger sometimes, but we kind of appreciate being on the small side. So the other big question, I think a lot of particularly young ladies would want to know is, I mean, when you got in the business and even now, the percentage of females in fintech is still fairly small, I would imagine.
it's tiny.
Yeah.
It's tiny. Percentage of females. And then when I started my career, I was one of the youngest and the minority and all of those things. And I was just saying this to you before we started, that there's power in being the only.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in that. People you're memorable. You are,
right.
You're not the same. You're not the same
suit.
Old male, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but you're just not. And so if you lean into that, and if you really embrace the power of being the only and your voice is heard and you talk about what's unique to you and you really have that authenticity, which is what we talked about a little bit earlier, there's a lot of power in that. And I think that it's helped my career in so many ways in being the only, because people do remember who I am. People do think about like you with your pink glasses.
Right.
They remember that, and you make an impact. And so for all the women out there, I think, and not just women, for anybody, not being yourself and trying to fit into someone else's box is always detrimental. It's always going to hurt you. And if you can figure out who you are and where you want to be and exactly what makes you unique and what makes you powerful, there's a lot of power in being the only.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always tell, I don't know if it's the case as much anymore, but I remember when I was starting in my career and I was always walking into a room full of men, always. And I always made sure that I was very careful about what seat I selected. Obviously, you don't want to bump out the owner. But other than that, where I sat, and then also if I had something really important to say, I would ask if I could stand and go to the head of the table to speak. And I think presence is something that you really have to think about. It's not so much what you say, but to your point, how do you present yourself? And if you present yourself as confident, you're going to get everyone else to think you're confident as well. Even sometimes if you don't know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, and I think that's so
fake it until you make it, right?
Yeah.
Well, and not that necessarily, but
faking it,
but be confident in, if you have something to say, it might be an idea that you don't know if it's going to work or not, but you've done your research, you've done the homework, and you think this is a good idea. I think you should be bold enough to speak about it.
Absolutely. And I also think sometimes women have some tendencies that I have seen over the years. One of them is in boardrooms, often, if there's only one woman, and I know I've had to stop myself from cleaning up the table or from being the one who says, oh, you know what? Oh, you want water? Let me go grab that for you. And I think that there's this natural maternal instinct that we have to take care of those around us. And I think that that's great, except when you're in a boardroom, because it automatically paints you as, the admin, the caretaker, the mom, as opposed to the same level of power as everyone else in that room. And I think that that is something that I know I've had to stop myself in the moment from, there's a bunch of trash on the table, someone should clean that up. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be me. I think the second thing though is also I've talked to a lot of women about lying about where they're going. So men often, and I experienced this very, very early in my career, where men would say, I have to leave early because it's my daughter's holiday party. My daughter, and a woman would say, I'm so sorry, I just need to leave early. I've got a personal matter to attend to. And everybody would look at the man and say, oh my God, that's so cute. Have such a great time. And if a woman had said that in the same vein, it was like, oh, do you really have to do that? And I had a couple men early in my career say, I feel so bad for your children because, you know, you travel so much. And I'm like, you have kids the same age as I do.
Yeah.
And you do the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I think just embracing that and being very bold about, I'm really excited. My kids get to see me. My daughters get to see me boss. My daughters get to see me build something. My daughters get to be part of this. And guess what? I'm going to leave early because I'm going to go to their holiday pageant because that's important to me. And again, putting that out there and being so bold about who you are brings so much of your power back.
Well, and I think you can take it. When my kids were young, I brought you all to work with me a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in her newsroom.
In the production area. Yeah. They learned how to cut and paste and do all those things we did back in the day. Yeah. But I'll never forget one day they came in, and it was your brother, I think. And he purposely walked by everybody. After we left my office, he walked by everybody's office. He goes, Mom, are you the boss of that person? And I would say yes or no. And we kept going. And he was like, his eyes got really big until we got to the one person I was not the boss of. But still, it was interesting to see it through his eyes.
Yeah.
He thought that was
And now
important.
I'm seeing it through my kids' eyes. My daughter, she's still a little, she's 5, so she's still a little young. But like I told my son today that we were doing, a podcast recording, and he was like, when will it come out? Because I showed him the first episode when we launched, and he was like all into it. And so I think it's really cool that I get to show him, I may be gone at work, but like I'm doing big things.
And
I still have time. I still make time for you, but so
they get to wear that as a badge of honor. They're proud of it. They're excited. My daughters Google me all the time. I'm like, please stop doing that. But it's exciting.
I don't know if they've done that yet. Ooh.
Oh,
I do. I do Google it myself every now and then just to see if there's anything.
Well, to segue into that, tell us a little bit, because I know you're trying to encourage other women. Tell us a little bit about your nonprofit.
Sure. Yeah. Brown Girls on a Mission. So it's really just about if women get together and make a change, not just money related, but also giving their time, big things happen. And if we look at our local community, there's so many places where people need help. I met at Shepherd's Hope, and we met volunteering, and there's so many places where we make an impact. And sometimes nonprofits just don't make it very easy to find those places to help because they're so focused on their mission, and that's great, but they don't tell everybody else, hey, how you can help. So our goal is partner with all the nonprofits in Central Florida and provide those opportunities to the people who are looking for ways to give back and volunteer and mentor and give the check and do all of the things and be really involved and see the direct impact of what they're doing. Because I do think that when a lot of strong women get involved, big things happen.
That's important because I think a lot of nonprofits, they would love to do that, but they don't have the infrastructure.
Yep.
And so you're kind of filling a gap where,
Yeah. And it's rewarding too.
It's amazing. My daughter, yesterday I was at a dinner meeting and my daughter texted me. She's like, hey, you can't call me for the next hour. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I'm in a Brown Girls on a Mission youth committee meeting. I was like, I love that. Like, I love that you're learning.
Yes,
like you're on a committee and you're learning. And she's like, and we talked to 4 different nonprofits and we're thinking about where we want to do an event. I'm like, great. Like, and so it's great to see them involved and understand that it is their human responsibility to give back. Yeah. It's just we're society.
Right. And it's also giving them some leadership skills. I think that's kind of what's missing too. I mean, when I was growing up, it was brownies and Girl Scouts. And, I got to be some kind of leader. I don't know. And that's where I learned, a lot of lessons early on. And then, of course, going through school and running for different offices for student council or whatever. And I think that we're kind of missing that when the girls are younger. There aren't as many programs now. There's individual dance and for you gymnastics, but I love the idea that they're learning how to be on a committee.
Yeah. And how to have KPIs, and they have to report on those KPIs.
Yeah.
And
it's awesome.
That's so fun.
Well, we're going to go real quickly to what we call our Take 5. Okay. So you got these ahead of time. So what's your favorite indulgence?
Chocolate. All the chocolate.
Any kind?
I love dark chocolate, but I will take any chocolate.
All right.
What's your favorite venue or event in town?
My favorite event or venue. Oh my God, there's so many
I know. It's
amazing.
hard.
There's so many amazing events and venues. I really love, I love sports events. So I'd say Magic Games and Arnold Palmer Invitational is such
That's
a
fun.
great,
Yeah, that's
such a great event. And of course, the Orlando Women's Conference is a
Oh,
wonderful
thank you.
event.
We are so excited to announce that Garima will be the
Speaking.
keynote speaker at this year's Orlando Women's Conference
September
happening
10th.
September 10th at the Dr. Phillips Center,
So excited. We
yay.
can't wait.
which is
Yay.
another great venue in town.
Yes.
It's
So-
a great venue. Yes. How
Um,
lucky are we to have a
I
venue
know.
like that?
It's beautiful.
It's
I know. We
beautiful.
love it.
It is beautiful.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite book?
A favorite book. Actually, I do.
Or many? I know most people have several. So.
I have several, but there's one book that I tell everybody to read. It's called What Alice Forgot.
Oh, okay. I'll
And
put that on my list.
It's, a woman wakes up with short-term amnesia, and it's her 29-year-old self judging her 39-year-old life. And so every day I think
Oh.
about, what would my 10-year later self think of me? Would she
Yeah.
be proud in this moment? Would she think?
Got it.
And so it's something I think about daily. And would my 10-year younger self be surprised at who I am today? And is that good, bad, or ugly? And it's
Yeah.
everything about like your friendships, your choices, the way you speak, how
Yeah.
you raise your children. It's everything. And if you think about that 10-year gap, it's a lot. And
Yeah.
who we are 10 years later is different.
It is
Yeah.
because you're changing all the time.
Do
Do
you
you-
have a personal mantra?
All the things, all the time.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that.
Not one at a time, all of them. And then finally, what do you think? I mean, obviously, you've pivoted a lot during your career and you've got a family life and you have a lot of things going on. What would you say is the boldest thing you ever did? Like jumping off a cliff bold?
I did jump off a cliff recently. I
Oh,
went I went bungee jumping.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
I went
Well.
bungee jumping for the first time this summer. I've been wanting to go for forever, and I went in New Zealand where bungee jumping started. So that was a lot of fun. But I am 100% an adrenaline junkie. I will do
Yeah.
anything. I actually am looking at how I can do heli skiing because I want to jump
Wow.
off a helicopter and start skiing.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, I do all
You
the
are
things.
bold. I would go on
Yeah.
the helicopter. I would maybe jump out with a parachute. I would not trust myself to jump off with skis on.
My
No.
18th birthday, I went skydiving. That was my goal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I love those
What?
things.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Garima, for being with us
Yeah.
today.
Yes,
And
thank
we
you.
look forward to having you at the conference this
Thank you
year.
for the
Yeah.
conversation. So much fun. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
It was
it.
fun. We
This was
didn't ask
fun.
any of our questions.
We didn't even look at the paper. We just
We're good.
I love
went
it.
off the cuff. Thank you for joining us today. We encourage you to like, share, and subscribe. We're available on all podcast platforms at herboldblueprintpodcast.com and on YouTube.